The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
I just had this feeling coming into this episode today that it's going to be an emotional roller coaster of sorts. So I leave for a few days to go to Mexico for a wedding. And while I'm sitting on the beach, I'm enjoying a nice cocktail, and I get a notification on my phone that Ryan O'Reilly has a broken finger. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, really? Like, really? Is this really happening? There are certain franchises in professional sports. The Dallas Cowboys. London, UK International Soccer.
Manchester United.
Manchester United.
England. Buffalo Bills.
The Ferrari F1 team. And the Toronto Maple Leafs that are just, it's a curse. They're cursed. It's a curse. You're not allowed to have nice things. You're not allowed to have success. And I just put my head down, and you combine that with all the barrage of tweets I saw on Twitter of just what a catastrophe the Saturday night game in Vancouver was. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this. Oh, I was actually happy I missed it, to be quite honest with you.
It literally feels like the last pod we did was 2 years ago.
I know, and it was 8 days ago.
It felt like 2 years ago. Just the most crazy day in this franchise's recent history. Maybe definitely the craziest day in deadline history for this franchise. And they just, it was a tough road trip to get all this started. Like they go and just get absolutely embarrassed in Edmonton. I thought they were decent against Calgary, not great, but they eke out a win. Great in the first period against Vancouver, and then I don't know what happened. The ghost took over their body. It was pathetic. And then they go and get a massive W in New Jersey, and it's amazing how it just went from so much excitement. The roller coaster of takes this week has just been wild, and I'm included in there too. Like it's so hard not to overreact to just a game to game basis with this hockey team.
I get off the plane and it's like, okay, they have this weird road trip where they're coming from the West Coast and making a stop in New Jersey, who's a great hockey team and just got Timo Meier. So you're like, oh no, like how's this gonna go? And O'Reilly's out. Tavares gets rocked. So he's out. And then Sam Lafferty moves up to play second line center, which is like, we still haven't, I personally, I barely watched the guy. They acquired him, and then I got on a plane and went to Mexico. So I'm like, oh no, like when you envisioned the lineup, that's not where Sam Lafferty was, and you're just kind of like, oh man. Then in the warm-up of the New Jersey game, Ilya Samsonov takes a William Nylander shot off the balls. His words, not mine. And you're just like, we're on the precipice of like a potential, like we're going to do some good numbers here if they lose this game tonight, let's be honest. And then they go out and get a big win. And Auston Matthews, who has also been a topic of conversation in his own right for marginal play, let's call it that, gets a huge winner with like a minute or so left in the game. And now you wake up today and you're like, hey, you know what? Like, that was a nice win.
Yeah, it's you can't I'm trying so hard not to overreact to like that game against Jersey was just it was going to be such a polarizing game in the sense where if they lost, even though they were in a tough spot, they're coming back, even though Jersey was just out west too, but they're coming back from a long road trip. Their big acquisition just got hurt. Their captain has this weird fake illness with a top of getting absolutely rocked. They have new guys who haven't even been back to Toronto to even like settle down. These guys don't even know where they're living yet. They haven't even unpacked their suitcases. They've been on the road nonstop. Really tough road trip for guys to come in and step in and play a role. And it's just, I was trying so hard to not spaz if they were going to lose that game. But they go down 3-2, and here I am finding myself throwing a spaz, being like, like I just don't feel like hearing it. Like it's almost that. And I was like, I just don't feel like hearing it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to turn on the radio. I don't want to go on Twitter. I don't want to watch any videos about just another day of like almost negativity in a sense. And then they pull out a big W, and it was awesome. And it's just, I think it's really important to remember that these guys haven't even like settled down yet. Like, imagine just, I know they make a lot of money. I know they're pros, but just you hop in on a long road trip. You have to get settled in as a human being. So I was just trying my absolute best, win or loss, to come on here and just keep a level head, because it's fine. It's all fine. I loved how they won that game, but like, let's just take a deep breath. We were dealt an awful hand with O'Reilly, and it's just, we got to keep our composure here as a fan base a little bit.
I saw a pretty interesting take last night about Ryan O'Reilly, and was like, hey, you know what? This might not be the worst thing for a guy who dealt with an injury earlier this year, and he's a bit of an older guy, to give his body, like, he's going to get 4 weeks rest for the rest of his body heading into the first round series against Tampa.
I find it shocking how positive people have been kind of spinning. I feel like people are spinning this injury into a positive to just make themselves feel better.
Yes, because like I said off the top, it's like I just had this moment when I saw that notification on my phone where I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's
like, people
awful.
already, the naysayers, when they made the deal, were calling it Nick Foligno 2.0, but now the guy's getting hurt, and you're like, oh my God. Really?
I think why people are staying positive, because, I mean, it's a broken finger, so it's pretty like cut and dry injury. It's not like he pulled something and it's weird and whatever. It's just like, you broke your finger, you have to get a procedure done, and you got to heal it a certain way for it to get better. Like, I think it was a good injury in that sense, and the fact that technically he can come back in time for regular season games.
I don't hate the spin of giving his body some rest, because he is an older guy and he's a veteran guy and he knows what it takes, and it's not like he's been in the lineup for a few games, so the whole acclimation process won't be as bad. And I think I honestly don't hate that take. I might drink some of that Kool-Aid to help calm myself down.
I think everybody's drinking that Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
It was kind of shocking how quick people spun it in a positive way, which I give Leafs Nation credit for doing that, but what an absolute garbage
bounce.
Like,
yeah.
I feel so bad for Kyle. Like, I
know.
I felt really bad for him, because he just goes out and does exactly what everyone wants him to do, and it's just you just knew it as soon as the puck hit his hand, his reaction. You're like, this I've seen this before.
Yep.
This is brutal.
Let's talk about some of the new guys. Kyle Dubas made a point of saying that they wanted to go out and get guys that were tougher to play against. And when as I mentioned earlier, when I saw that Sam Lafferty was going to center the second line, I was like, ooh, is this like, I had him sort of slotted as like a third or fourth line, bottom six guy. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was really good centering that line against New Jersey, which is a good hockey team and a good test. Guy skates really, really well, finishes his checks, in on the forecheck, and just like, when you compare him to the guy he essentially replaced in Pierre Engvall,
they're very similar.
But yes, but there's one important thing that they're not similar in. He's hard to play against. Pierre Engvall is the easiest guy to play against in the league. Sorry, haters.
I think that
had some guy comment in our video last week saying that we had low hockey IQ for dunking on Engvall, and I was like, "You're an idiot, man. You're an idiot."
What is he, a head coach? Like, is he scouting us?
I don't know. I was like,
low
that's
hockey
like,
IQ.
Man. No one is saying Pierre Engvall's a bad hockey player, but this team has had softness in abundance.
We've seen enough. I've seen enough of it.
Yes.
Like, I've seen enough of it. Like, Sam Lafferty, I'm not gonna just be easy. He's hard to play. Well, that remains to be seen if he's hard to play against. But he does remind me a lot of Engvall in the sense where he's an extremely fast north-south skater. Like in a straight line, those two guys can move. But I like how he can play center. Like I like how he could play center. He came in, and that's way more useful for this hockey team. A way more versatile player, a bigger guy who with the same speed, kind of the same skill set, but can play center. And it's just a fresh face. Like I don't care. Say what you want about Engvall. I was just done with the guy. I don't care if I have a low hockey IQ. It's just I see a player who's very similar to him, but he plays center, and he's just more likable to me because he's new.
And uses the body. That's valuable. That's valuable. That's something that this team values, because it was not. How many times in scrums do we see guys get pushed around and no one out there did anything about it?
They've been kind of I've been noticing that they're not so chippy players are feeling more comfortable to.
Yes, because you got guys out there like
one more check a game.
Which brings me to the next guy who I am. Appoint me the new president of this guy's fan club. Jake McCabe's a great hockey player. He's a great hockey player. I love the way he plays. He's got a steady presence back there. I think him and Brody together is a great defense pairing. He takes the body. He rubs guys out. He's not sketchy with the puck. He's a stay-at-home guy. He's positionally sound. He's not like, doesn't give the puck away and make stupid decisions. He's like...
He's solid.
That's the word I was looking for.
He's just a solid defenseman, and I thought he's played pretty well. I thought he's been really good. I thought he was really good against Jersey. It was tough to judge all those games out west, man. That was just a weird. It's just the way that whole thing worked out. It was just weird, but I think so far it's nice to have a guy step into your top four immediately and just be
a top four guy.
Solid.
Yes,
just solid.
Yes, I like. Man, he's a really good hockey player. And dude, we got him for a couple more years at $2 million. Are you kidding me? That's a steal of the century. What'd you think of Luke Schenn?
Luke Schenn's exactly what I thought Luke Schenn would be. Just he's gonna go out and lay a nice hit, and he's gonna be physical, but he's a bottom pair guy, and he's fighting for that spot with Justin Holl and I would say Giordano, but Giordano's not coming out, even though sometimes it looks like Mark Giordano's 39 years old. But I thought it's fine. It's so hard. I just don't want to judge these guys too fast, positively or negatively. Like they like it's just that road trip. Like, I need to see more of them, basically. Like I don't want to get too excited. I know that's boring. I could come on here and be animated either way, but I'm trying really hard to give more of a sample size to judge these guys.
Well, Luke Schenn's a perfect example of that, because he gets dealt, meets the team in Calgary. His wife's like going to go into labor any minute, has to leave after Calgary, go back to Vancouver where his wife is basically like in labor and hasn't been with the team since.
I know.
And I assume he'll be back on Saturday at home against Edmonton, which I'm really happy I didn't miss that. I was talking to you about that before I left, about the ovation I think he's going to get when he returns to Scotiabank Arena. It was nice to see some highlights on my phone of him taking the body.
Yeah. Like it's nice having a guy who can actually lay a hit, and it's an impactful hit because he's such a big man. But I didn't see enough to give him to like everyone throwing him on a pair with Riley right away. Like just let's all relax here. Like I know we want results quickly because the playoffs are only 18 games away now, and that's not a lot of time, but they do need 18 games to really see what is going to happen and who they really have to be ready for the most important game of the season, game one.
Sheldon Keefe taking a lot of heat on Twitter for scratching Timothy Liljegren, which I think is just, because I think Liljegren has been one of their best defensemen, and you just pointed out how Mark Giordano looks like he's 39 years old, so why not give the guy some load management nights off?
They're so worried about hurting his feelings.
Too bad.
Honestly, that leads into a problem I have with Sheldon Keefe right now, and Dubas, it can be lumped into, is they are really, really cautious of whose feelings get hurt. Like, it's easy to throw down Michael Bunting and bench him because he's Michael Bunting. Like, he's just that player who's going to respond to a challenge, and he's not a top guy. But it's just, especially with Cooper benching the big boys in Tampa, like that would, not saying that Keefe has to do that, but that would never happen here. And I love Mark Giordano, and he's not exactly one of their top players, but I honestly believe they wouldn't sit him because of that reason. Like, they're so conscious about hurting some particular player's feelings on this roster.
Well, for him, it wouldn't even necessarily be a quote-unquote benching. It would be a, dude, you're 39 years old. Like, you're 39 years old. Take a night off.
And it's the argument that since he's 39 years old, taking a night off would almost be worse because he's got to stay in the play, in the routine to keep in shape because he is 39.
That's stupid.
But I think that I don't even know what to think. Like, I guess if you're a coach, you respect Mark Giordano so much. He's 39. He's a veteran. If he tells you he wants to play every night, like, what would you do? Like, I
would say you're 39 years old. We just brought in 2 new guys back there that need to, or 3 new guys in Gustafsson that need to draw into the lineup and get acclimated with our systems. You know the system. We're gonna need you when it counts in big minutes come April. Sit down. Like, your body is old. We saw you in the blueprint wearing those things on your legs because you have 39-year-old legs. Like, you don't get a say. Like, John Cooper, guy's got some stones, man, to look at these guys and go, you're playing like shit right now. Have a seat. And you're absolutely right. Sheldon, what does Sheldon Keefe do? Puts Alex Kerfoot up on the first line with Matthews and Marner.
Yeah,
that's my reaction to that. I when I saw that the other day, I was even now, I have no words. What are we doing here, Sheldon?
It's just like he sent a message to the only player who could, like, accept a message and not cry.
And that leads to, there's been speculation that we saw it earlier this year, and there's been speculation before about the internal politics within this dressing room with respect to the superstars. And I'm talking about,
would never get, like,
I'm talking about the 2 big boys up front. And listen, he came through in the clutch last night, and I've said it, you've said it, you've all said it, that if he gets big goals in April, none of it matters. Auston Matthews hasn't been very good. Like, if you look at, you said it perfectly last night. If you look at his play compared to McDavid and Pasternak, it's not even close. And well, he's dealing with an injury. It's like,
yeah, it's to me, it's.
You think Connor McDavid's 100% healthy?
Like, I know Matthews is a point a game player, and that's nice. But when you're talking about a guy who we've considered a top 5 player in the NHL, who's on his way to signing the biggest contract in the history of the league, you kind of, some people can be like, yeah, but he's better defensively. He's better this. He's better that. Like, so what if the scoring tails off a little bit? And it's like, you know what? This year, looking at the top players in this league, that is just not an excuse. Like, there are guys legitimately going out every single night and scoring and putting up 2-point games. Like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, like Pasternak. Like, these guys are just ridiculous. Even like Tage Thompson. Like, now there's a whole new generation of guys like Jack Hughes. Like, how many chances did he have last night?
That's
he's got 40 goals.
That's why I get upset with the people who get mad when you lobby some criticism at Matthews, because that's where his bar is.
Yeah, and he's made it clear that that's his bar. It's not like we put him there. Like, he's the one who's kind of set that expectation of that's how he needs to be perceived. And I'm not like hating on him. It's just, if you they're just better players in the league doing better things, and you're kind of falling behind right now.
100%.
Like, this is like,
and I'm sorry, when you look at him and Marner and Nylander specifically, those 3 guys specifically, you can throw Tavares in there too, but I want to focus on those 3 right now. You know what? Nylander had scored some big goals and played well against Tampa last year. So let's focus on Marner and Matthews.
And also, William Nylander has been benched before and has taken it like a man and has responded.
These are 2 guys who are the 2 franchise guys who have a resume of disappearing in big moments in the playoffs. So when you see them doing this at this point in the regular season and not sort of like sort of gearing up to it. And Marner had the beauty goal last night.
I would not lump Marner in this conversation
No,
in terms of performance this season.
Okay. Let's be abundantly clear. You're right. Let's be abundantly clear before we get ripped and taken out of context. In the playoffs, those two guys have disappeared in the big moments. And so I think when you look at Matthews and the season he's had thus far, and as we said earlier, where his bar is, it's a bit worrisome. And I don't want to, like, that was the number one thing I saw online when someone, like, because there's a few people who I've noticed on Twitter lately who have, like, been vocal and been like, this isn't good enough. And everyone is just like, he's saving himself for the playoffs. He's saving himself for the playoffs. He's like, he's not saving himself for the playoffs. You think Connor McDavid is going to play the exact same way? And Connor McDavid is an apt comparison because for many years, there were people who said that's 1 and 1A. That's over. That conversation is over.
They're not even on the same planet. No. I'm sorry. Like, one is, like, Connor McDavid is a way better hockey player than anybody else in this league, let alone Auston Matthews.
When it's all said and done,
it's a joke that those two were considered in the same breath.
When it's all said and done, you think he'll be the greatest ever?
I think he already is the greatest hockey player to ever lace him up. I think he's a created player. Like, that's what he is. Like, when you were a kid, created your player, made him 99 overall. He'd score a zillion goals in the regular season, and it would be like, he's that guy in real life. Like, it's like, I almost swore there. Like, it's insane what I'm watching from this guy. He's gonna score 70 goals. Like, it's ridiculous. He is so much better. Like, I would say he is the most dominant athlete in their sport out of all pro sports.
So, coming full circle, for a long time, Auston Matthews was mentioned in the same sentence as him. So that's why it kind of bugs me when people start making excuses and are like, oh, he's saving himself for the playoffs. Oh, he's dealing himself with the injury. If you're not healthy, you shouldn't be playing. We need you operating. If this team is going to go on the run that everyone thinks it's going to go on, Auston Matthews is going to be the one who leads the way to get them there.
Yeah.
So if you're not healthy, you shouldn't be playing. You should be resting to get your body ready to be the Auston Matthews Hart Trophy winning performer that you were last year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's unreasonable. He's not saving himself for the playoffs. Like, you say, bring up Pasternak too. That guy's
ridiculous.
Their puck's going to drop in their round one series against, like, Pittsburgh or whoever, and that guy's going to be just as dominant as he's been all regular season.
Score big goals.
That one, like, the injury one, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe he's not healthy, but, like, man, like, he's saving himself for the playoffs. Dumb.
He's just fallen. He's just fallen behind other players this year. Like, there's just guys in the league who are better than him.
Yes.
Like, he's just not in that. Like, I know last year he was unbelievable, won the Hart Trophy, but from the puck drop of this season, there's just been other hockey players just flat out way better than he's been.
Yes, and guys who have been in the league, who haven't been in the league as long, like a Tage Thompson.
Yeah, who's unbelievable. Like, who's like a shoe-in to put it in the net every night almost. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to get too, like, carried away. It just, like, what is your, like, there's this end of the season is such a grind for me mentally. Like, what are we, like, I just can't put my finger on what mindset I need to be in for the rest of this season.
So
like, it's
I'll tell you, we'll make a little checklist here. Okay. First and foremost, Ilya Samsonov is this team's #1 goaltender. Period. End of discussion.
Matt Murray goes out and has a good performance against Vancouver because he wasn't the reason why they lost that game. Even though some of the, like, he was good that game, and all of a sudden we're back to it's Matt Murray game 1 starter.
No. Ilya Samsonov is the dude. That game should have been 8-0 at the end of the first period in New Jersey last night, if not for Ilya Samsonov standing on his friggin' head. So Ilya Samsonov is keeping him healthy and keeping him playing at the clip he's playing. So you're confident with him being your game 1 starter is number 1. Number 2, you said sort of off air that you wanted to walk back your comment about
the chemistry. Yeah, you flat out. I think everyone asked this question. You were just like, "Are you worried about the chemistry?" And I just, like, blew it off. I was like, "Nah." But no, like, it's a real thing. Like, yeah, like, these guys again joined the team on a tough road trip, having gotten settled, just meeting new people. Half the team just got traded. Like that it is a big deal. Like it is. I completely underestimated that factor of it. Like it is a big deal to have that much turnover and to just bring in so many new guys who need to get settled into a new team. Like that's actually really hard to do, and I'm really underestimated that.
Who's your starting 6 defenseman for game 1?
I don't know. I think that top 4 is pretty settled. Like it's Riley, Liljegren, Brody, McCabe. They're never going to take Giordano out.
So
even though sometimes I don't think Giordano looks that great, even though I wouldn't take him out either. But
so it's a carousel between Gustafsson, Hall, and Schenn.
I don't think you're going to see Gustafsson. I think the only way you're going to see Gustafsson is if Morgan Riley really starts to suck. But even then, that's not going to change anything.
No, there's a lot of people that are hating on the Luke Schenn acquisition, and if you look at his numbers, like I get it, but I just don't understand why you would acquire this guy if you're not gonna put him in the lineup when it counts. Like you clearly acquired him because you feel the physicality he brings is more important than Justin Hall. Like clearly, so I would not be shocked to see him as their 6th guy come game 1. I don't know if they pair him with Giordano or what, but I just don't see like what's the point of going and getting Luke Schenn if game 1 your Justin Hull's in the lineup. Although Justin Hull is Sheldon Keefe's son, so it's entirely possible that's
kind of strange how they didn't like move out one of those guys at the deadline, because it is kind of like it doesn't really make sense.
You've also got Connor Timmins kicking around. You got Jordy Ben kicking around.
I know it's nice to have depth. Like, trust me, like depth's very important, but it's almost like too log jammed. And like, I don't want to see Liljegren come out of the lineup, because that's kind of like, I would not be surprised if he was out of the lineup. Like, would you? Like, I would.
I think if Timothy Liljegren is not in the lineup in game 1, I want Sheldon Keefe removed I want Sheldon Keefe fired.
Like that's.
I
would not be
surprised. Sheldon Keefe, if Mike Babcock took Timothy Liljegren out of the lineup and dressed and galaxy brained Alex Kerfoot into the top 6, we'd be sitting here right now ripping on him. Absolutely ripping on him. Like, it's
Alex
brutal.
Kerfoot
sucks.
The guy can't score, man.
Sucks. And now now there's a bunch of his apologists online that are like, well, you know what? He's actually pretty effective when he's out there. Score a goal, dude.
Yeah,
like, seriously. Like, I don't care. I don't care. You need to produce results. Going out there and skating around effectively doesn't do anything for me or the team. Like, and this is what always drives me nuts with people who are like, oh, well, he's got great underlying numbers. Cool. They lost the game 3-2 and he didn't get a point. That's really great that he looked good skating around out there. I hate that.
Yeah, Kerfoot is, I mean, like, yeah, he gets it on the forecheck. Like, I get it. Like, that's nice. I like guys who get it on the forecheck. How
many times
he's not a heavy forechecker. He could skate, but, like, it is so clear at this point that this guy cannot score. Like, he is so, like, I don't even want to say snake bitten. Like, it's almost like his scoring ability has just left his body.
If game 1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning comes around and Timothy Liljegren is in the press box and Alex Kerfoot is in the top 6, I want Sheldon Keefe removed.
Alex Kerfoot will not be in the top 6. I can promise you that.
Good. He better not be.
Barring injuries. Like, say they have a pretty optimal lineup, then no, he's not playing in the top 6.
Oh.
But I could 100% see Justin Hull in, Luke Schenn in, whoever in, and Liljegren out, which is absolutely ridiculous.
It is. It's. I think Timothy Liljegren is you said it earlier. He's one of their top 4.
Yeah, he is in their top 4.
Like Riley, Brody, McCabe, Liljegren is their top 4.
Yeah.
And even then, if I was gonna point to someone in that group that teeters on 4 or 5, it would be Morgan Riley because he's so inconsistent. Not Timothy Liljegren, Sheldon.
Yeah, we'll see. Because it's just like, I know Hull is. He's just one of those guys who, like, when someone's just in a market for a long time and is just kind of like, he's been good and he's been a fringe player. He's been brutal. So I feel like just the fact that he's been around here for so long, no one wants to see him in the lineup. Everyone wants to see him
listen,
out. How much better? Like, I would really just need to sit down and just see, like, who is Luke Schen's physical presence and what he brings more important than what Justin Holt brings. And Justin Holt really doesn't bring, like, it was embarrassing when he got his ass kicked by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. That was really embarrassing.
Yes.
Like I would not show my face in the locker room after that happened.
It's
like
not
that was
I forgot about that.
That was embarrassing. Like that was bad.
It's not like that.
His ass kicked.
Yeah, it's not like they had
a guy who's a $160.
Yeah, it's not like they had one of those like wrestle fights that like
he
kind of
got
went to like,
knocked out.
no, he got tagged. Yeah,
he got knocked out.
Yeah, by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Like that's an absolute joke, you know? Like I just
hey,
feel
listen, he made a nice pass last night to set up the bunting goal.
I know. It's just really we're arguing about a sixth defenseman. And even though it is an important spot because that one guy can bring you something very important, no doubt, but it's at the end of the day, like it is still the last position on their roster. So it's also like who is McCabe and Brody going to play together the entire time? Like are they going to try to mix that up a bit? Because I also think that stylistically, depending on what pairs are working best, that would also determine who your sixth guy is.
So Justin Bourne made a good point on the Leafs, their post-game show that they do on Sportsnet last night, where because everyone's been saying that same thing, and Bourne was like, no, they brought him in and put him with Brody because Brody's the safety blanket. So you bring him in, you put him with Brody, and then after a few games, you're like, all right, you know the system? You're good? All right, go play with Liljegren or whoever.
Yeah.
Riley. Yeah, man. I just don't see the point in acquiring Luke Schenn. Why did you go get Luke? The only thing Luke Schenn brings at this point is he's a big body that's tough to play against. So why would you spend an asset? And you could be like, oh, like how important is a 3rd round pick? But like, why would you acquire the guy if you're gonna sit him in the press box over a Justin Hall or Gustafson?
I think this is going to be tinkered with in the playoffs. Even like if he's going to decide game, it's going to be the most important. Actually, no, I think the goaltending might be the most important story. But number 2 behind it is who's going to be the 6th defenseman.
I'm thinking,
and someone goes out and stinks the joint out game 1, then they're coming out.
If you told me to put a futures on who's in, I'm going Luke Schenn. Like in the past,
I disagree. I think you're going to see number 3 out there. I think number 3 is going to get every opportunity available to put himself out of the lineup.
Well, my nickname for him now is Sheldon Keefe's son because Sheldon Keefe just absolutely loves the guy. But Keefe has favored the big body 6 guy in the past, like Roman Polak and Labushkin, and like so that's something that he's valued. So, and he was glowing about him after the Calgary game.
Yeah,
like his quotes after the Calgary game were like, you see a guy go out there and go toe to toe with. Like, this guy's just been behind the bench. We've been ripping on Sheldon a little bit here, but, like, he's just been behind the bench his whole career watching his team just get run off the ice physically. So he was, hot and bothered after Lucic bounced off Luke Schenn in the Calgary game.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then the last thing on the pre-playoff checklist is what we talked about earlier. I think you just got to focus on getting Auston Matthews to a better place. And hopefully he picks up some momentum after scoring the big goal. But, yeah, I think you're good with. I think Nylander's been great all year. I think Tavares is Tavares, and I think the best thing that happened to John Tavares was acquiring Ryan O'Reilly. And I think you just got Marner's Marner. He has a shift where he does something boneheaded. Like if Marner has 5 shifts, he looks great on 4 of them, and then he has one where he does something boneheaded or tries to do something too pretty or whatever. But Marner's Marner. You got to get Matthews back to a. I think the ship's kind of sailed. I don't think like as of Saturday he's going to go out there and be Hart Trophy levels, but he's got to be more consistently effective than he's been thus far.
Score some more goals, man. Like he just has to get more points because all the best players in the league are getting points and he's not. Yep. He's kind of like in a weird like look at the players surrounding him. Like you're like really like you're supposed to be $15 million guy and you're down there with. Like I can't even think of a name, but just somebody who's just like not on your level, and it's just strange. I think another thing to add to that checklist quickly is I don't think we're going to find a magic solution to like a special playoff lineup for the rest of the regular season. I think game 1, we're still going to have a bunch of questions that are not answered, and they're just all going to be answered in that playoff series. And you're just hoping that it will work out. But I don't think for the rest of this year there's going to be a magic lineup that's just going to make us feel good about ourselves that we're going to win that series.
No, I'm with you. You said earlier, I think he's going to be tinkering with it pretty much all year. But the answer, like, I know he wanted to send a message to Michael Bunting, but, like, Sheldon.
Was he picked out the only guy who can accept? There's only 2 guys on this team who can accept a message and do something with it. Michael Bunting and William Nylander.
Yeah.
Everyone else cries.
Yeah, everyone else.
Or is old.
Yeah, I wouldn't put, like, Giordano's a pro. I don't think he's going to cry. I think that they're just not, like, I thought Dubas moving on. Oh, God, this just reminded me. I thought Dubas moving on from Sandin and Engvall would signify, because those are Dubas guys, like, would sort of signify more of a cutthroat approach he was going to take. But I think you're right with the Giordano thing. I think they just have too much respect for him. And it's like, guys, your jobs are on the line here. Anyways, want to touch on this. Crying about how well Rasmus Sandin has done since arriving in Washington. It's like, sometimes you just need a fresh start in a new place, and I think that's the case with him. I think him and the organization just kind of soured on each other after the contract debacle wasn't really a debacle, just the contract disagreement in training camp. We said on our last episode that Liljegren had passed him on the depth chart. He goes to Washington and instantly becomes a top 4 guy. He's playing on their top pairing, and he's doing well. And he's in a market where no one thinks they're going to win the Stanley. Washington's not winning the Stanley Cup.
Not even going to make the playoffs.
So there's no like real expectations on him. So it's a shiny new toy. He's got a new. I'm happy for the guy. Like, it was just a scenario where you go your way, we'll go ours. Nice knowing you.
I have way bigger fish to fry than worrying about a couple 2-point games.
Yeah, but people get so like, oh my God, look at him now. We traded him. It's like, so what? Like, so this guy was never, Rasmus Sandin was never going to be the Leafs' top defenseman ever. And some moke's gonna hear me say that and comment that, well, low hockey IQ. Shut up. That's always the go-to as well, too. Like, we get that on our TikTok all the time. Well, if you guys ever played the game, you'd know this. And it's like,
this isn't like...
shut up.
I know. Yeah, hockey's so X's and O's.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot of set play. Like, come on. Like, it's just whatever.
Embarrassment.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. Back against the Oilers on Saturday night. Looking forward to that. That's kind of a redemption game.
I'm not looking forward to that.
No, you think McDavid's going to go out there? You think McDavid's going to be home and he's going to play lights out?
Spaz.
Yes.
He's way too good right now. And it's weird. The Oilers, like, they may not be the best hockey team in the world, but boy, did they look like a damn good hockey team on last Wednesday. Holy shit.
Yeah, they did. They were ready to go and the Leafs weren't. And
oh my God, it was a downhill attack. Like, whoa.
Yep. All right, buddy. Let's get out of here. We'll be back to react after that game, after the Oilers game. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so.